Good evening. Welcome to the Berlin Conservation Commission meeting, December 7th, 2022. This is an open session public meeting and is subject to being recorded. Your image and voice will be recorded. Why does it say may? Okay, will be recorded. There were no minutes.
Oh, okay.
From the last meeting, from 2 weeks ago, because
That
we
was
didn't
two-
have a
have one.
meeting.
But did we have minutes from the previous
We
one?
did,
We looked
Yes.
at those.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was
sent
probably
them out.
just far enough back that,
Right, it was November, the first meeting in November.
But when would we have approved those?
We did.
we haven't.
Oh, okay, all right, so that's what I was
Yeah,
wondering.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, but they were emailed?
Yes,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right, I must
Yeah.
have missed them. I was trying to search for them and I didn't see them. Or maybe I already read them.
Yeah, it was a
Probably,
while
because
ago.
it was, yeah, it was like a month ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, I think you emailed me, yeah.
All right, so the minutes from November, what would that have been?
Second, I think it was supposed to be. Okay, let me check.
Yep, November 2nd.
November 2nd, okay. Do we have any, is there any conversation about it?
Okay, so I move,
Do you move?
okay, move that we accept as presented.
Second. Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask you to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? We have minutes. All right, we actually have treasurer work to do tonight, don't we?
We do, so I have the budget form for you to sign. I couldn't find the one from last year. I was trying to search for it. I must not have filed it in my folder there, but I can search my email and see, but I don't know that it's critical. We're only gonna get our $2,000 anyway. We don't have Maddie's stuff on it anyway, so I don't think our budget is super critical.
Right. Peg, do you know, do we have to put in her salary, her part-time wages, huh? Have to be on our budget for this.
Oh, they are on our budget?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not our, like, expense account budget, but,
Oh, I thought it was something different. Do we have that information?
we can, right? You got a check
Yep.
stub on you? So, I mean, I don't know that we need to do this part in open meeting, but,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking that came out of a separate pot now, but.
right. So I guess, so we've got, $2,000 that we're requesting. Right, our dues are $550, okay,
Yeah, I kind of just.
yep.
Threw
I'm
some
gonna
reasonable
write
numbers
next
on.
to other expenses, I'm gonna write legal, because that
Oh.
tends to be our biggest
Oh, yeah.
expense other than MACC dues.
Yep.
Yep, and MACC sent us a letter just kind of giving us an idea what to estimate for that.
What was that
Okay.
for?
This is, they give us a letter every year to let us know what the dues are gonna be next year.
Oh, wow, already? Okay.
Yes, yeah, they know when town budget season is.
We had 518 this year, so I just put 550 on there, so.
Yeah.
I think that should cover it.
So it says 452,
What did we
but
add
that's
on
not,
this year?
we added on a couple
Yeah.
of subscriptions to the
Yeah.
handbook. And we added Maddie on as as the agent.
Yeah.
I attended the conference.
I think I put
Right,
that.
but
Did that
that's
come
not
out-
part
it
of the
wouldn't come out of
dues,
it?
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know if it would.
I don't need to know that it needs to be super specific. I mean, it's pretty close.
Right. And under meetings, I'm putting training next to that, because like lawyers, MACC dues and MACC training is pretty much all
bulk
we
of it,
spend our
yeah.
money on.
Yeah.
So, okay, so We're gonna add Maddie's part-time wages up here. Everybody good with 2,000 for,
Do we have a choice?
I know, right? I don't know if we need to vote on it, but let's vote on it anyway. Someone make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as noted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
What's our budget for, how many hours a week? 12?
8 hours.
Oh, it's 8 still?
Yeah.
I thought we got approval for 12.
We asked for 12.
Oh.
We did not get 12. And
I think
today,
we need more than 12.
I know, right?
And we assume 52 weeks, right?
Yes.
Let me just run that again, because I think I remember vaguely what your rate was from last year, so.
I don't even know what today's date is, 12.
So if you want to put in
7.
this amount roughly, or maybe round up to the nearest 1,000?
Yes. Okay. So, and then do that by 12 hours, if you would,
Sure.
because we're gonna ask for
Oh,
12
yeah.
hours again.
Send in your justification.
We need her desperately.
No,
She does so many awesome
I
things.
know,
Yeah,
she's
she
totally
does.
awesome, but you need a little.
It's not enough to just say somebody's awesome?
No, no.
That's super awesome.
I'm gonna, yeah, how about super,
does that work?
super duper awesome.
Awesome.
Right, so that is what this other piece of paper is. So I'll do this afterwards. We don't need to do this on camera either. Everybody sit there and watch me write. But we'll make sure we hand this in. So. All right, I'm just gonna give that to you to keep with that, and whatever you can, I think there's a couple things at the top that you could fill out if you would.
I don't need your signature on that, do I?
Not on the second page?
It says requester name, might as well
Okay.
sign it.
Yeah, especially so that you can have some hours to take some classes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. All right, and is that it for the treasurer stuff?
So, I was looking back at the budget papers that Maddie sent, and, so, one of those KP Law things, remember?
Mhm.
So I didn't get a chance to follow up with June until this afternoon, so I haven't heard back from her.
Okay.
Or I didn't think to, it kind of fell off my radar. But anyway, the invoice kind of, I thought it was like 168 for us.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, looking at it more, I think we were splitting the bill, so, but what was on the forms was like 945, so it was a round number. So it's not clear if we're just getting like, it wasn't clear like why we were billed that amount. And to put it against our budget versus, on the form we had put open space, but I don't know if
Right.
there's money left in the open space. I thought we still had like $3,000 after,
Yeah, well, yeah, right.
so I emailed her about it.
So we got a legal bill that, I know, just so you know what, we got a legal bill and it wasn't, apparently wasn't clear to us how much we were being asked to pay. We approved the number we thought was correct. A different number was taken out of our annual budget.
Oh, my.
Now, if there's a discrepancy, shouldn't conversation happen?
Correct.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so I'll follow,
right, so we're not gonna sign off on that.
well, we already got
Until-
hit with it.
Well, sure, but we're being asked to approve the
Oh,
account
yeah, yeah, yeah.
balance. And,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so you'll
Yeah.
follow up with June about that and.
Yeah, so, see what she
At the
says.
very least, it should not be paid out of our budget. It should be paid out of.
Exactly,
Open
the
space or
open space.
wetlands,
Yeah.
depending, was it,
We had open space on the original
Right.
request,
right,
so.
so, okay.
So,
Excellent, this is why we keep track of these things.
Mm-hmm.
How are you, Laura?
Good. Hi, everybody.
I don't know if everyone knows Laura. She's from SVT.
Some of you.
Yeah. Yeah, so they should be here. Excellent that we got to move it up a half hour. Yeah, I knew you'd be.
We have amounts for,
Not today, no.
so they're still as of June 30th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think the last papers we got were like October 31st,
Yep.
but we had a little discrepancy, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll just put down June 30th.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because I don't think we got papers between June 30th and October 31st,
Right.
so.
Awesome. All right. Bills and forms.
Bills, yeah. So KP Law for its work with Horseshoe Pond. And what? KP Law.
So how much is that bill for?
This bill is for, I'll see again. All right, I guess it is made clear. It's actually really not.
Yeah, the other one had like a bunch of numbers and said minus 168 Concom, so I thought
Well-
168 was our portion, but that wasn't the case.
Right, right, so there's a total for these two pieces of paper, and then it says minus 1575 CC, but then up here, 1575 CC, and I bet if you add these numbers together, it comes to that, so, 1,575.
1,575 even
Yep,
for work on.
Yeah, that's more than,
And this is going to be
168,
open
Yeah.
space?
Those.
this is gonna be open space, yep,
And that's work for what? For,
Horseshoe Pond,
Horseshoe.
yep. Any, I feel like that's not bad. I feel like their bills used to be outrageous. No, they're. Yeah, right? What? That's ridiculous.
We should become lawyers, right?
I know, right? Okay, any questions? Anybody want to see the bill?
I wouldn't understand.
I know.
It was written by a lawyer.
Right?
I'm not too bright.
Hearing, so can I get a motion?
Make a motion to accept the KPA bill for 1575,
Dated November 23rd.
dated November 23rd.
I'll second.
Any further conversation? Hearing none, I'll ask you to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, I'll let you fill that out.
Oh, this is a new
Also
form, huh?
title insurance.
You said it's dated November 25.
Is this the
Yes.
new version of this? Did they change this?
Is the heading the same? Because aren't there two pieces of paper we have to fill in, send in?
I don't think so for the bills. I think you just send the schedule of bills. I think the other form is when you have deposits
Oh, I see.
in addition to that.
Not sure. I think those are the ones June gave us last time. I just made copies and threw them in my folder, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, when she was here.
Yep.
Yeah, so that one's gonna be the most recent.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Damn it, I just finally like printed a bunch out for this purpose, and now they're obsolete.
I bet you can still use them. I bet she's not gonna send it back.
Yeah, you know what, I will use this one because I already wrote on it, so I'll save this one for next
Yep,
time.
and if it's not the correct form,
I'm sure
we'll
she'll
find
bill
out
us
about
anyway.
it. Yep. All right, the next bill is for title insurance for Horseshoe Pond. $3,600 even. Of which the amount of $633.50 was paid from KP Law.
How much was paid from KP Law?
$633.50. Is that on there?
No. Unless it's like, how many cents was it?
Right, it was probably part of the closing,
Yeah.
right? All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of paying this bill for title insurance, say aye.
Aye.
Title insurance?
Yep,
Okay, and to be paid from open space?
to be paid from open space, yes.
Okay.
And then if, yeah, 3,600 even.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Spending money left and right here.
Which, are we paying this out of open space too?
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much it for bills. All this forms.
Oh, this is just the deposit
Acceptance, yeah.
received for 2 NOI checks, it looks like. Robin, you hold on to those, right?
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
Let's see. So we on to mail? We notices?
Yes. Now
All
we're on
right.
to-
Yeah, so this is the check for Patrick Garner to conduct the inspection of 10
At
Bigelow.
10 Bigelow, yes. So, this is another question for June as to what account, so this is a retainer check for Pat from 10 Bigelow.
I think those can go in the, this is gonna end up paying him, right?
Correct.
So I think that goes in that general revenue fund. I'll ask.
Like
her.
our,
No, there's that like annual, I'll ask her. It's,
okay,
yeah.
yep. Okay, perfect.
What's the amount of the check?
$4,250. And it seems like he's earning it this time.
Yep.
All right.
We received an ANRAD today.
Yep.
And that's, let's see. And the only other thing was basically Pat's review of 10 Bigelow Road and the Verizon cell tower.
Right. So, talk about the cell tower for, well, right. Yes. Sorry, getting ahead of myself here. Okay. So, Verizon has approached the select board, and the select board has asked for input from some boards about putting up a cell tower. They were specifically looking at 2 parcels that we have as conservation. One is on Mount Pisgah. We said no. And the other is Rattlesnake Hill, right? Is that?
Yep.
Right. The other is Rattlesnake Hill, which I don't know if everybody knows where that is. Boylston Road. No, not that one. So Boylston Road down by Clinton. It's just before the Hart Hill.
Okay.
So the Hart So here's Wachusett Reservoir, the Heart is on this piece of property, and Rattlesnake Hill is here. And that is conservation land, but it does not have a CR on it, so,
So what was the other side besides Rattlesnake Hill?
Mount Pisgah.
Mount Pisgah.
Yeah. So I emailed back to Kristen and just said, as far as, out of these two sites, this is the only one that's even remotely a possibility. We could talk about it. If,
Do we have to say yes to one of them, or is this just a matter
No.
of like, okay.
They were looking at other sites too,
Right.
outside of Berlin. So it may or may not happen here
Exactly.
anyway.
Okay.
Even
Yeah.
if we say, oh yeah, hey. But then I think from what Walter was saying, they was hoping to get some kind of money out of it, like
Yeah.
a good substantial amount of money that would help us go to open space, right? If we could-
right,
Yeah.
well, and the,
His suggestion was open space.
yeah, yeah, and the other consideration is the, emergency services has been needing to put additional equipment towards that end of town for coverage. I guess sometimes the police actually have to use their personal cell phones to talk to each other from across town.
Oh boy.
So it would be, and if Verizon doesn't put up a cell tower, the town may have to do some sort of something in order to increase coverage for the emergency services. So this could end up being something that's beneficial
Okay.
for everybody.
And they would have access, would there have to be an access road made for that tower to get there and,
Right,
right? So
right.
How are you
I
gonna
would
get that
imagine-
Equipment in there.
And they
Is
just
it-
said it was like one vehicle.
Right,
That would
yep,
come in. every-
that's all up to them to put together in a package and present
Right,
to us.
okay, gotcha. Okay, yep.
That is not for me to guess how they're planning on doing that.
Okay, all right. But it sounded like it wasn't a huge impact.
Right.
Correct, and depending on, a lot of things, but it's certainly worth having a conversation.
So was there actually $50,000 on the table, or is that just something Walter threw out?
Oh, I'm sure, I don't remember seeing that number, but,
Yeah, Walter threw that
yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
He said like that much.
No,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was, when Verizon came to us, there was zero mention of any type of funding. So
right.
any numbers that you're hearing
That's
does
just
not come
Walter.
from Verizon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not gonna offer money if they
Yeah,
don't
but
have
if it's
to.
gonna
Right.
benefit the
But
town,
we should
we
ask.
need it.
Oh, yes, we'll ask. I mean, we've asked for a package of them. I mean, obviously, we want to check on health issues, because while he was talking, I was looking, and it was like, study on study on study on study, and I'm like, all this is gonna need to come back to the town anyways, so we're waiting on information from Verizon guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
But
would
yeah,
have
no
to be-
mention of,
Voted on at town meeting? Is that it? Is that what you're saying? No?
no?
No,
We're
but
just
certainly
waiting
the
on
select
information
board.
from him.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they were to put it at Rattlesnake, at us.
Right. Well, does
And-
the town get money for the other tower that's already here in Berlin, up on Calvin Road?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
Might be on private. I was just gonna say, it could be on private property.
Right. Right, so the property owner may
Hmm.
get some sort of lease money.
He's saying yes.
Yeah. Right. And so, and is that it?
Yep, I think so.
No, there was one other thing on your list.
Oh, yeah, the 10 Bigelow Road report. If you want
Yes.
to talk about
So
that.
we forwarded Pat's report to everybody and everybody read it, I assume.
Yes.
So they've got some issues with their plan for sure. And they've got some issues with the work that they've already done. So Pat is gonna get together, they're gonna coordinate a conversation and hammer all of this out. I was very surprised when they said they were gonna come in tonight, originally with no changes to the plan. DEP had some very, very specific comments about what was wrong with their plan. And Pat addressed that also in his report, so we shall see. If they get it all straightened out by our next meeting, it'll be our Christmas present. If not, it'll be first of the year. So, that's that. And then the appointment that got canceled at 7:15, some people who live on Dudley Road where it's in Hudson. So.
Is that in Hudson, any of that?
Mhm.
Didn't
The
know that.
beginning of Dudley is in Hudson.
Oh, I thought it was all in Berlin.
No. Oh, that map's not really gonna do us any good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so off of River Road,
Mm-hmm.
the first, well,
Can't be much, right?
well, it's more than you think. It's probably the
Yeah.
first 300 or 400 feet.
Okay.
That's why there was a big problem with that carpet that was dumped on Dudley Road.
Oh, I remember
Hudson
that.
said it's in Berlin, Berlin said it's in Hudson.
Ay, ay, ay.
Right. Finally, Steve Beard just went and dragged it out of there. Anyway, the next property over the line in Berlin is a piece of tax title land that was taken by the town in 2011 and given to conservation. And these people wanted to buy it to build a house on for their daughter. And they wanted to come in, and then finally I just told them, I'm like, there's no point in you coming in. It's conservation land that was given at town meeting, and we're not going to even consider overturning a town meeting vote.
Are they neighbors? Why that particular parcel?
Yeah, it abuts their.
Oh, okay.
Right, and they wanted to build on it, a house on it for their
Gotcha.
daughter.
Okay.
So, that was that. And that's been the majority of it.
Yep.
Yep. Ashley Davies actually emailed me about the Aqueduct Trail. It was so good to hear from her. So she was going to Northborough to the CPA Commission there to try and get money for a feasibility study for the Aqueduct Trail in Northborough.
Okay.
So they're just taking applications right now, and they're not going to make their decision until, I think she said January or February.
So they're looking to connect to between the Berlin section and Westboro?
Yep.
I thought there were gaps in that, though. No?
Well, there's certainly several crossings that they have to
Yeah.
deal with, which is why they want to do a feasibility study to see how the best way to
Yeah.
deal with those.
Okay.
Um,
Good.
Yeah, so,
Because right now it kind of ends at like an office building.
right.
That's off Bear Path, is that the?
Barefoot, maybe?
Barefoot, yeah, that's it,
Yeah.
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 All right, well, we're running a little bit late, so let's start the fun.
Evening.
Good evening.
How are you all?
I know we know who you are.
Um,
Do you mind?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, come on up.
Join the fun.
So, I think we last met on September 21st or thereabouts on the project. And we dealt with a number of issues at that time. Since then, we've been working with SVT. We have all of the consents that are necessary for the conveyance. We have discussed and agreed with SVT on providing an easement for use of the parking as kind of trailhead parking. There's, when you come into the development, there's an area of parking that's not designated for any of the units, and that's going to become, in part, trailhead parking and an easement to SVT. SVT had some issues concerning the proposed deed language. All of that has been resolved. The past approximately 10 days, some issues have come up regarding boundary markers for parcel C. The surveyor went out, located the areas. I think particular concern was the location of the retaining wall, and that's been determined to have been properly located on parcel C. And there was some staking and putting in, iron pins that when you come into the development, there are a few units immediately on the left, and the boundary between parcel C and parcel B is fairly close to the units there, and SVT wanted us to mark those bounds so it was clear, and that's been done. We're ready, willing, and able to close. We have everything prepared. But SVT, and Laura can address this probably better than I can, but SVT would like not to take ownership of a part of the area where B2 and D meet. That's where there is that rather weird detention basin.
The newer one?
The newer one. And the area behind that to the south. We're okay with that, but that would require a new A&R plan to adjust the boundaries with the planning board, and the Conservation Commission and the planning board would have to approve the relocation of the boundaries. I don't think it's nobody's gone out and measured, square footage per se, but I think it's a pretty small area. So based on the last experience with the planning board, in terms of getting an A&R plan actually signed, I could,
know someone that's on the planning board,
Yeah.
so maybe we can expedite that a little bit.
well, I hope so, but then of course the engineer has to actually go out and prepare
Has
the
to do it,
plan
right.
and
So,
get it. So
Can we let Laura speak to
Sure.
why this is what's going on?
Sure. So Diggin and I, Dan Stimson.
Yeah.
We went out and we wanted to really check what was on the ground to see. That's always one of our most important parts of our job. I just like having maps, so I
Yeah. Oh, no.
So we went out and we wanted to make sure that if we were going to close on a property, that we knew where it was and where it ended and all that stuff. So we did identify that we'd spoken to Alex about having both the internal boundaries and the external boundaries. We do want those officially bounded at some point in time. But we especially needed to make sure that these internal bounds were, you know, like the house wasn't built in them, let's say, you know, worst
Sure.
case scenario. So we went out there and these weren't marked and we were concerned about a retaining wall here. So what we did find, we were very happy that they went out and they put in the pins, so there's survey pins in here now. The retaining wall is not on B1. There's some lawn encroachments in here and here, but you know, that's not a big deal. There's an issue of where the boundary is over here in this corner, either on or next to someone's driveway. I don't think it's a big deal, but I think we need to have it marked, you know, eventually.
Why didn't they mark it when they were out there marking the others?
Because they were just doing these here. And I'm just not that concerned with that one.
Okay.
I think it's minor.
I should say we have agreed to do the bounds, the exterior bounds, but the surveyor said essentially they don't have the time to do it until the spring.
Right.
So we've agreed, at least in principle, on on putting money for that in escrow, you know, to
Excellent.
get it done
Perfect.
in the spring.
So this section over here, B2, there were some large boulders that came out of the construction that were placed in this area, and a section of those boulders go into B1, and so SVT really doesn't want to own those, and the developers doesn't feel like it's feasible for him to remove them. So the other option would be to redraw this lot line so that SVT is not owning that section of boulders in there. And I would also just assume that SVT not own the drainage swale and structure, which is actually a corner. So it's already been surveyed. So it shouldn't be that expensive for them to just mark that out. Because
Yeah,
based on what you
yeah.
were saying, Alex, it sounded like that swale is like right in here because it's right on the line.
Well, I must say I'm a little mystified by that because the drainage easement was created to accommodate the drainage basin and not vice versa. But if they messed it up, they messed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you just said.
What I was saying is that the drainage easement was, as drawn on the plan, was created to accommodate the basin is built on the ground. So I'm surprised.
That some of it's in B2, is
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, just in terms of long-term simplicity, it just makes sense not to have this big easement here for drainage when it's just that one piece.
Well, right, and that second drainage basin was kind of an afterthought. And then it was built, and then it was pulled back, and then it's
Yeah.
been moved and
Yeah.
built and rebuilt.
Yeah. I heard a
And
little bit of the story.
Yeah,
Pulled back
it
and then
was,
pushed
yeah.
out.
it was not
Yeah.
part of the original plan, so.
Right, right. So,
So where does this leave us timing-wise?
Well, as I said, I think everything else is taken care of. So it would be all driven by the A&R process. I don't know, what's the planning board meeting schedule now, do you know?
Well, we meet next Tuesday.
the plan's not going to be in
Right.
publication for that.
January 10th. Does that sound feasible?
To me, it does. I don't know if it'll sound feasible to Connor Stoneman.
Okay.
January
Right, so January 10th and January 24th.
24th. And then the A&R plan, assuming it gets voted at either the 10th or the 24th, would need to be endorsed. And the SVT and the parties, I think, would just generally need about 10 days advance notice before closing, per se. So to me, it looks like the very, very earliest, the middle of February. Probably more realistically, the end of February.
I am going to Hawaii at the end of February. So, the commission's 2 meetings in February are the 1st and the 15th, so I will be here for those. Planning board gets messed up because the 1st is on Wednesday, so the first planning board meeting in February is on the 14th.
So I was just addressing the closing, per
Right.
se. So hopefully, if the A&R plan can be prepared and submitted for the January 10 planning board meeting, it could also be submitted to the commission.
And we could vote on it on the 18th,
February 18th.
January 18th. You pencil in Alex on the 18th, no time yet, but that way we hold the spot. So theoretically, this could be, I think for my comfort level, you guys being okay with the plan that is approved by the planning board and the commission. I think everything else is just tying up loose ends, but if we can get to that point sooner than not, I think we would all be happier.
No comment. I was going to say something about my unborn grandkids. But, this issue has really arisen in the last 10 days, and so
Right,
we are moving as fast as we can
sure.
to get it done. So, given the meeting schedule, I don't see how it happens before January 10th.
Right. Well, and with the holiday and that you tell your people you need it done by the 1st, it might actually be done by the 10th.
They've already been told it needs to be done. But
Right.
in any event. So, all right. So, but in principle, what I'm hearing is that the commission is okay with rejiggering the property lines to accommodate this.
Yeah, I would just make sure that you're still within your green space.
They are.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. just
I
whatever.
mean, I shouldn't say that, but it really is a slight adjustment based on what you told me.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
But just, like, we don't want that
right.
wrench
slip.
to,
Yeah.
exactly, that to not be thought of and push us off
Yeah.
a little bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd ask Carolyn about that just to make sure we weren't messing with that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so that's that. I do have a request for occupancy certificates. I have a list that would take us through February. Not many. And I'm sure you'll want to discuss street sweeping.
Oh, we definitely want to discuss street sweeping, certainly before we address anything else.
So,
Yeah,
the street sweeping.
what the heck's going on?
Well, you know, I'm honestly was mystified by the emails that you forwarded, you know, from Mr. Garner, which seemed to say in some fairly definitive way that that photograph was taken on a Saturday. You know, Mr. Russo's trucks are in the background. He doesn't work on weekends.
Right.
And so with respect to that, you know, particular event, I think it's a non-event, you know, based on, well, let me finish, based on misinformation. When we came here in September, we talked and agreed upon instituting a protocol, you know, for street sweeping on a daily basis whenever there's site work being done. Mr. Russo is a site contractor. You know, he has been, on those days when, you know, site work is happening and dirt is being tracked onto the road, he's been sweeping. At the end of the day, Mr. Garner, and you know, I'm not, you know, I don't want to criticize or anything, but Mr. Garner comes in the middle of a workday, you know, takes the photograph and sends it to the commission. No copy to us. No, like, hey, please.
He copies Brian.
Well, Brian says no, and in fact, I'm just.
That I can show you,
Okay,
because it's
Brian-
on the string.
Okay, no, on that string.
Oh, it's
Yes.
on every one of them.
No,
Every single
Brian
report.
says he does not get the reports,
Well,
and that he's asked for them, okay?
who has he asked? Because he's never
Mr.
asked
Garner.
me.
Is he asked by email or to be handed a copy?
He's spoken
person.
in person to Mr. Garner. The reports, he says, go to Mr. Russo. You know, that's okay. But, you know, there hasn't been a disregard of the, you know, cleanup that we agreed to, you know, back in September. And I just think it's a little bit on the unfair side for Mr. Garner to come in the middle of the day, take a photograph and say, we're not doing, you know, we're not cleaning up. We are cleaning up. For the matter of self-preservation now, we've instructed Mr. Russo, take photographs at the end of every day, showing the street, sending it to Mr. Gardner and to the Conservation Commission to show.
And that was to start when?
That's to start immediately.
Okay.
I just, you know, all right, enough said. I
Yep.
a little disappointed by that exchange.
Yeah, I'm not going to do the he said, she said. I see the emails, I see the reports, I see who they get sent to, and they get sent to Brian. I don't know if they go to his spam folder, I don't know, I don't know where they go, but I see his name on the string of addressees. So, and I can have a conversation with Mr. Garner and ask him to go later in the day, although at this point, it's, dark at 4 o'clock, or early in the morning before work starts, to try and get a more accurate idea of what's happening. So that we can all kind of be on the same page about this. I don't want there to be anything wrong out there, but I'm getting reports that there are things wrong. So I can only act based on what I'm getting as a report from the person that we've hired to report. So, let's see if we can institute some policies. I'll ask Pat to go at a different time. If we get pictures of the street being clean at the end of the day every day, then we'll both be happier.
Done.
Sound fair?
Done.
Okay.
We should check Brian's email address too, just to see if it's actually the right one.
Yeah.
You happen to have it with?
I see it on
left
here.
my cell phone in the car.
It's like Brian-Clark, what was it?
At like iCloud or something.
Yeah, at live.com.
That's definitely not the one I have.
Okay, so yeah,
Okay.
this one says Brian-Clark at live.com. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that.
I know.
Both wrong anyway.
Third time. Just in case they didn't get it the first 2 times.
Don't worry, it's the wrong email address anyway, so.
Okay, Brian, if you start getting, yeah,
Right. Yeah, right. So that could explain a lot of things. If it's going to an email address that is not correct, I'm seeing that it's going to the email address, but he's not receiving them. So
But if that's not a real email address, it usually
it might be
bounces
somebody's,
back.
right, it might be.
Somebody's
going-
Somebody named Brian
Anyways.
Clark is getting it.
Why is this
yeah.
woman yelling at me?
Right.
Yeah, so if we could get verification of the email address that we should send it to, and I can forward the 95 previous reports to everybody, if you'd like.
not to me.
Okay?
I'm a lawyer, not a sweeper.
Yeah, I mean, most likely after all the work's done, that the basin's gonna have to be cleaned again, because the water is just, it's turbid, it's dirty. And if there's a release, every time the water gets up to that lower release, that lower port in the overflow, water goes out into the wetlands. If the water's dirty and laden with silt,
I understand how this works.
well, so saying that there has never been a discharge isn't exactly accurate. There has not been a major discharge, but
Right, this is a big project.
it is a big project,
Okay.
absolutely.
So
My
I would
job
call
is
that
to
a-
keep,
I would call that a pretty good track record.
well,
But
a developer's level
Yeah.
of tolerance level and the commission's tolerance level are kind of different lines. So, anybody want to talk about that?
About so what's the status of these? I mean, a couple of these are only a week or so away.
these are
Ready to
all
close?
these are all scheduled closings. So I think if you go back and compare with the prior list, a number of these units. And let me just pull the prior.
How many have we approved to date?
You approved 30, I believe.
Out of 68?
66.
Yeah, we're getting close to the 50. We are.
We're 3 away from
3 away,
50%.
yeah.
What was the
That's scary.
50% mark? What was
That
that?
was everybody, when everybody decided we were gonna make an exception about this, everyone was like, but no more than 50%.
Right.
We've been making progress, though. I mean, so, I don't think it's unreasonable.
You and I differ very much on this.
I just think there've been so many problems here that we have to
That's-
draw a
I
line
don't know.
somewhere.
No.
I know.
This is typical. All
I
these
just-
issues are
but
typical.
that's sad that it's typical.
I don't disagree. Construction
Right.
is a terrible, terrible business.
You know, and I mean, it seems like in 3 of the major developments, there have been serious problems because the water control is inadequate. The plans are not adequate to control what happens. It was with the solar panels,
Mhm.
Pollard Road,
Mhm.
not as bad though, and this.
Mhm.
So the December units were, when you look at the September 21 list, were originally scheduled to close in November. So they've all been put off into December while we've tried to complete
So are
the
these
conveyance.
Are these 3 actually closing in the next couple of weeks?
Well, they're not closing without occupancy certificates.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you had the occupancy
Yes.
certificate, they would
Yeah.
close on these dates.
And you,
Those are the
did I hear you
scheduled
say
dates.
they were on the previous list that we approved?
No, you approved, they were on, I gave you a list in September, which included units going, essentially all of these units, and you approved up through the end of October.
Oh.
But
Okay.
are these 3 actually ready to close? They're complete and ready to go?
Yeah, those closing dates are real, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and, you know, I have the life of, you know, in the life of these things, February dates would still have to be considered tentative, but those are the contracted closing dates.
What about these January ones?
Those are contracted closing dates.
So when we first started, when we first made the first exceptions about this, and we, you know, the people were sitting here in the room saying, please let me have a home, which was just wonderful. We told you guys that we didn't want to do this. We didn't want to do it this way. And every single time you come in, you're like, yeah, but just a couple more. Yeah, but just a couple
No,
more.
I've-
We were very clear about how we felt about it. And personally, I do not feel that was even hurt. Like, by the time you guys were at the end of the hall, you were like, yeah, whatever.
No, that has absolutely never been the case. I've come here, I've been attentive to the requests of the commission, I've done my best
But it
to
was
satisfy them.
But we never said,
I understand that you never said, that's why I'm here.
correct.
I-
And
But on the other hand, you know, it's, and I've said this before, it's unreasonable to hold hostage, you know, this many units to something that's out of our control. We are not in any way, shape, or form, you know, trying to avoid fulfilling this requirement. We could be sitting here still waiting on the state. The cost of the transaction with SVT, to do it with SVT, is in excess of $50,000, okay? And that's not just, you know, that's just all of these things. So there has been a significant and substantial effort, and it's a continuing effort. And I had hoped that we would be done by now. These issues came up in the last few days. They have no control over this. SVT has every right in the world to, you know, say what it wants and
Of
what
course.
it will accept. I'm trying to satisfy that, but to tell me that, you know, we're just gonna close down the project for another 2 months. It's unreasonable. It's unreasonable.
I don't agree.
Yeah, and I think for us, the most important thing is the CR on that land.
Right.
Until that is solidified, at this point, we're too close, that I understand that we are close to getting it, but I do not feel comfortable releasing any more until that's done.
But I think the CR was off the table at this point when we agreed.
Right,
to
well,
go-
the CR is still working through
Yeah,
the
yeah,
state.
but
At this
we're not-
point, it's
That's not holding up this
the
transaction.
land donation to Sudbury Valley trustees will be, once that's final, the land will be protected, which is our,
No, I
truly our
understand that,
goal,
but I guess
yes.
but until that's done, like, it's not done yet.
Right.
That part isn't done, so that's my concern, yes. Because something can still change if the people move in and they, I'm
No, so the votes, the necessary consents of the unit owners have all been obtained. Any future conveyances require the consent of the new unit owners to the transaction. So for us, this is set in stone. I mean, this is not, we're not, going to be stuck with trying to get somebody else's consent to the transaction. Like I said, we're ready, willing, and able. We could, based upon the existing plans, we could close tomorrow if SVT wanted to. Okay, and we would. There's nothing holding it up from our end. The only thing is SVT would like to adjust the boundaries. We're willing to do that. We've just spent a good deal of time discussing, the schedule for doing that. So I don't know, I don't know what the concern is. I honestly don't know what the concern is, especially as even after this, millions and millions of dollars worth of conveyances are still held back.
Well, for me, the problem is that I am asked, why are we allowing the permits when you have not met the conditions? And people are concerned that we're not going to get the CR in place, and all the units will be built and occupied.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I've been here.
But there've been problems since the beginning. That's the problem that I have. Right from the beginning,
And we have
been
addressed
problems.
all of them appropriately. So I don't know why there's a belief that suddenly, we're going to turn around and say, oop, gotcha.
Because that happens all the time
Not for
with
me.
projects. Well,
Well,
But-
yeah, for,
no, go ahead.
For example, from last I heard, when we last spoke, the only issue really was the parking for SVT. That's as far as what I heard. And I understand SVT wants to do their due diligence and everything. I totally get it. But I'm just concerned now that what else might happen. So I'm more concerned about until this is done. Right now, I'm still, nervous about it.
Right.
Well,
Because something else could come.
You have a representative of SVT sitting here, and she hasn't said, "Oh, Alex, no, you're wrong. There are 12 other issues." I think I've disclosed everything.
Yeah,
and-
no,
and
that's it.
Well, shouldn't
And-
the boundaries have been absolutely delineated
They were.
before this happened?
They were.
So
And-
what changed?
Okay,
Well, they weren't actually, what happens in constructions is they were marked and then the stakes got moved
Right.
around. I don't know why they don't do the monumentation right off the bat. I don't get that,
right,
but, so,
Right,
but it's not common
So they end up
practice.
paying the surveyors twice.
yeah.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. But that's, I guess, not uncommon.
No, I understand. I mean, we walked the trails with Dan, and he pointed out the fact that one of the trails we had was not in the right place, so we
Yeah.
fixed that.
Yeah.
So I know I understand that stuff has to be checked, and that's great. But that's all my concern. I think if we know that this is it, we're good. But then it's still not official.
Right.
That's my concern.
I mean,
Right.
we've done our due diligence in terms of checking the boundaries. Alex has explained to you and our request to have some of those boundaries moved because of on-the-ground conditions that, you know, if they don't want to move the boulders off from, you know, their, I guess, apparently their waste products from the development. You know, if they don't want to move that off what's going to be conservation land, then we need to adjust the boundary for that.
What's even the issue with moving them? They move them there, right?
Well, cost.
Right.
It's also going to be a mess. It will be a mess.
To move them.
You're saying what's left over. Yeah. Well, and that's why I don't understand why the boundaries, you know, these things aren't marked, because then things
Right, they
are
could,
put
when they
where
were
should-
moving
yeah.
them there, they
They
could have
should have
moved them
known.
10 more feet and,
Or however.
or whatever,
many.
yeah.
You know, one of the issues we have to address here is if we don't kind of stick to our program on this, the next development and the next development and the next is going to point out the fact that we gave in and gave in and gave in to the point where I don't know. I just,
See, I don't view it as us giving in. I mean, we're continuing to make progress. If Laura was sitting here saying that, you know, the talks had stalled and
Yeah, yeah.
you know, then I'd be concerned. But they're still moving forward with their discussions to close on the land. So, you know, these things come up, and
And
I still think there's a ton of real estate there that's being withheld. That I don't know. I think we're still
But
continuing.
that's not our problem.
No, it's not our problem, but I
Right.
mean, we should be acting in good faith as well. I don't think it's unreasonable to continue releasing some of these as long as this deal is moving forward.
You know, this has hopefully been a collaborative process in terms of, you know, coming up with the idea of conveying to SVT, working with SVT, working with this commission, working with the planning board to, you know, come up with the plans that would make this work. You know, I thought we were going to be done now, and I don't think it's giving in when there's a collaborative process going on. Assumedly, if you had another developer in front of you with a different project and different issues, but working to achieve compliance, that you wouldn't view that as giving in either. We're not, again, I don't know, we're not looking to avoid this. I don't know why anybody thinks we're looking to avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, these are very common issues.
Right.
And I get it, and I'm more comfortable with this, but
Right, but and I think we've explained this many times too, is we have had many instances with developers where we've been promised the moon and got nothing because we didn't kind of hold the developer's feet to the fire. I will agree with Robin and with you and with Laura that, I mean, Laura is not sitting here saying, oh, no, this is, you know, Alex's saying all the wrong things, and I will agree. I guess in light of that, I would take a vote on the 3 in December.
I would be willing to go with the 4th one as well. I was gonna say, if we go through those first 4, just to get us to the next meeting, I'd be okay with that.
But then that puts us over the 50%.
Yeah, that was arbitrary. I mean,
But to me, I know, it's kind of like that line.
but that assumes that you're not making progress. You know, when we said 50%, you know,
Yeah, I
I
have to
mean,
agree with that.
you know, we're continuing to make progress. I think it'd be very
I'm just
unreasonable.
No,
so done with this.
I disagree.
Okay, so, someone make a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the next 4 occupancy certificates.
Do I have a second? Care to amend your motion?
All right, let's go with 3.
Can I get a second on that?
Second, I want to see progress too.
We have a motion and a second to approve Unit 57, 60, and 58 for occupancy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask you to vote. Let's poll. Let's do Robin,
Yes.
Holly,
No.
Louise,
No.
Yes.
AJ, and I will vote yes on those 3.
So AJ voted yes?
Yep. And if you get in touch with me, or, I mean, try and get in touch with the planning board, but if you are not successful, like by the middle of next week, early next week, let me know, and I will poke the appropriate people and get it on the agenda for January 10th. We'll put it on our agenda for the 18th, and Laura, you'll just keep me in the loop as far as, and Alex also, but just as far
Yeah,
as
trying
how,
to get that moving forward, yeah.
yep, how we're looking for getting this finalized on the 18th.
18th
Or
of
January.
January, okay.
Yep. Does that sound,
Sounds good.
All right,
All
thank you
right.
very much.
Merry Christmas.
Appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
When I was on my way here, I was like, oh, we still need to tell somebody something. Oh, I know what it was. I need to talk to you after the meeting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want to talk to you.
Okay.
So I got it written down here.
Yeah. It's the same thing oh, no,
Okay. Oh, yeah.
okay. All right. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you need a cough drop?
I have a cough drop. Right there.
Are we waiting?
Well, I was just gonna,
In that case, do you mind signing that? Please. That's
the title insurance.
yeah, and the other one, I'm gonna scan them and drop them in the box.
All right, there's that. The only other thing I had was to official the town of Berlin owns Horseshoe Pond.
Awesome.
Finally.
Maddie's working on the reimbursement
Yep. Hopefully we get that soon.
paperwork, so did they give you any idea of turnaround time once we get the paperwork submitted?
I think it's like a few weeks.
Right, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
yeah, so hopefully we can get that all sent in and all set.
Yep.
And then they got the kiosk set up on the Linden Street parking area.
yeah, did everybody see that?
I haven't seen that yet.
What's that?
The kiosk.
I will go tomorrow.
Over on Linden Street is up. Actually got a text today from somebody saying, hey, this looks awesome.
That was fast.
Yeah,
Did Dan build that?
Yep.
yep, so,
Ah.
yep. So, that's what it looks like, yep. So there's two sides. And we're gonna work on, so Dan sent me, this write-up is terrible. He said we have this somewhere else too. So, I would like to pay a little bit of attention to that and maybe get that replaced, because this is, yeah, not good. I love the wood duck, but,
Speaking of which, I have a wood duck house on a post, ready to go, so we can put it out this winter
Oh, perfect.
on Horseshoe Pond.
oh, awesome, perfect.
But not till the ice comes on, I'm not waiting
Yeah,
out there.
Yeah.
So what is this?
So this is, in one of those frames on the kiosk will be a, write-up about, this is conservation land, Berlin Conservation Land, Conservation Commission is responsible for the acquisition and maintenance of, management of open space conservation land. It says when we meet and where, and then this specific one will talk about the fact that it was paid for in part with CPA funds, and that, yay CPA, and that we got a state MVP grant for it. Do you remember if there's specific language that we have to include?
I don't know. Definitely something to look into.
Yeah, if you could find that out.
Yep.
Just so that we make sure we say what we're supposed to say.
Yep.
That would be good. And yeah, so Maddie and I, but yeah, these are all of the spaces that there are to fill in that board. So there's gonna be a trail map with a QR code to download the map for people. Information about, some of the wildlife you might expect to see, some, picture of poison ivy, and other things that might be up there that you want to avoid. And
Poison oak, I bet.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have some in my yard.
Do you?
Do you?
Mhm, I do.
Huh. So maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. And, kind of rules and regs for the property. So Maddie and I are gonna work with Dan on getting all of that put together.
Do we know if mountain biking is permitted there?
It is.
Yeah, I've seen mountain bikes in there quite a lot.
Yeah.
I've not ridden there.
Yeah.
Horses
Oh,
in there too.
I've ridden on the
Yep.
other end of Mount Pisgah, but not on this end where we just acquired them.
Huh,
Yeah, I've
yeah.
ridden some other. Yeah.
Yep. And, yeah, maybe we'll put up a permanent sign saying when hunting season is.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion on Berlin Neighbors
Yeah,
Connect about it.
there always is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but maybe, just something permanent so that it's there and we don't have to remember to post something.
Does Northborough have something similar like that? Are we copying anything what they do on their side of Mount Pisk? I've never seen this.
I've never have either.
So I don't know.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
just curious, like if they have stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
They did have a kiosk up at one time, and they had,
Yeah, I've seen them at other places, the Northborough ones, but I've never seen that side of it.
yeah.
Right.
Just curious.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, it would be a good thing to be consistent.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So kind of whatever.
Yeah, so maybe we'll ask Dan if he knows what they've got going.
I don't know if they have any photos in here.
So, and that's all I have. Is
When
anybody?
is that due, the town report?
Town report will be due probably the end of January, is traditionally when it's due, so. Right, and so I won't miss any commission meetings. That might not be true. The first meeting in March I might miss. Yes. So, first meeting in March, we either need to decide if we're gonna have it or cancel it. We don't need to decide right now, but I won't be here.
I
We
was
could do
gonna
a
ask
hybrid.
something. Yeah, see, I was gonna ask
When you went to Hawaii.
Yeah, well, is it possible to do hybrid? But my problem is I am gonna be going to Florida this winter. So I didn't know what my options are. I have to say goodbye, or could we do hybrid? And I would be more than willing to call in every Wednesday.
Right. When do you leave?
End of December,
And how long you?
3 months.
Are there any boards that are doing hybrid with members? I didn't think so.
They are.
It's
Finances.
Well, Zoom or people come in,
But not both.
but not both.
Oh, Anna told me she's doing both.
Well,
Right, because she goes to Florida
She's
for the
going
winter.
to Florida too.
we tried a hybrid meeting a month or so ago, and it was a nightmare. With the
Okay.
plastics presentation. That's essentially what that was,
Yeah.
would you say? Ouch.
And it's really hard because you wouldn't be able to.
You would have, somebody would have to have a computer, whatever.
Sure, but you wouldn't be able to vote because you wouldn't be able to sign anything.
Right. Unless they did at some point, maybe one day. we'll have- I know
Maybe
that now.
one day, but that day
Okay.
is not here.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. I mean,
right, I mean,
I could just
wait.
resign and then.
Well, we
start
don't
again.
have anybody waiting in the wings if you want to just take a couple months off. You know, like.
Nobody's
Steve-
dying to be on the conservation.
Right, well,
Commission,
like
basically
right.
what
you
you're
are.
saying.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like the seat would, you would either have a leave of absence and the seat would be empty.
Okay.
Or you would leave the commission and the seat would be empty.
Okay.
Either way,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Steve Beard used to take hockey season off.
Did he really?
Yeah. For many years. He would just not be here for all of the months during when he played hockey.
It's pretty much like August to May.
Yeah, no, it wasn't quite that long, but.
It seems like it.
It sure does.
I don't see any pictures of that.
Right, well, it was the adult league that he
Yeah.
played in, yeah, not pro hockey season. So, I will leave
Okay.
that up to you, but if you just want to,
Well, if I do leave of absence, do I have to go sign something or just what
No.
do I do?
No.
nope, no, just let me know when you're coming back. Let me
Okay.
know when you're leaving, let me know when you're coming
Right, well,
back.
I'll be at the next meeting for sure.
Okay.
In December, so,
Cool,
yeah.
yeah,
But I just wanted to mention it now, because
yep, I appreciate that.
Where do you go in Florida?
when? Oh,
Where?
Where? Ocala. Same place as Anna.
Horse country.
Horse country.
Yep.
But she comes back and forth too. I stayed down there.
Yeah.
I don't want to come back.
Do you bring your horses down?
Well, are we done?
I think so.
Anybody have anything else?
I'll make a motion to close the meeting at 8:32 p.m.
My second.
Is as Tim Wheeler says, it is non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.